As betrayal ignites war and a forest older than memory becomes a battlefield, Andersen's courage is tested beyond measure. Through cunning, heart, and the lessons etched into him by hardship, he rises to defend the kingdom that raised him. What follows is a gripping tale of love, sacrifice, vengeance, and rebirth, an unforgettable reminder that true leadership is not inherited by blood, but forged in humility, wisdom, and unwavering devotion. The Hidden Wise War King is a cinematic African adventure drama that blends action, romance, mystique, and inspiration into a powerful saga of a forgotten orphan who becomes the protector of a nation possessing the heart of a legend. If you love powerful, inspiring stories that awaken courage, wisdom, and emotion, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Your support helps us create more unforgettable journeys for you. The kingdom of Omizunu woke each morning to the warm breath of sunrise spilling over its palm plantations. The wind rustled through the tall fronds as if whispering blessings over the land. Children raced barefoot through dusty pathways, their laughter blending with the rhythmic pounding of mortars and the distant call of flutes. Presiding over this peaceful realm was King Seaman, a man whose age, 109 years, only seemed to polish his wisdom rather than dull it. He walked slowly through the village each morning, leaning gently on a carved wooden staff. His deep indigo robe brushed the earth, embroidered with golden patterns that caught the sun. Yet it was neither his regality nor his age that made his people revere him. It was his heart. Under his rule, no widow lacked support, no orphan walked alone, and no home knew the pain of hunger. His presence softened even the hardest days. Beside him often walked his daughter, Princess Hannon, a young woman of astonishing beauty and quiet strength. Her skin glowed like polished bronze and her long braids, decorated with cowries that clicked softly as she moved, framed a face both gentle and wise. Her eyes saw everything. Every sorrow, every joy, every shift in her father's breathing. Her flowing red and gold Ankara gown moved like fire and sunlight with each step, and children chased her, calling for stories only she could tell. Not far from the kingdom, in the vast plantation to its right, lived Andersen. A farmer. An orphan. A man carved from the earth itself. His hands were rough from harvests, his muscles shaped by years of lifting, planting, and cutting. Though quiet, his mind was keen, sharper than most warriors. He sensed the forest's moods, interpreted footprints like words, and understood the subtle shifts of wind, bird calls, and soil. Villagers admired him but rarely understood the depth of intuition behind his simple life. One morning, Andersen noticed heavy boot prints at the edge of the plantation. Not from Omizunu, thicker soles, deeper impressions. Men from outside. His brow tightened. Something was shifting. Meanwhile, within the kingdom, a subtle shadow crept into the king's life. During a council meeting, King Seaman lifted his calabash of palm wine and his hand trembled, just slightly. Enough only for a daughter's eyes to catch. "Father, are you unwell?" Hannon whispered. He forced a smile. "Old bones." But the mirror of her eyes captured the truth he tried to hide. That night, as lantern light flickered against the mud walls of his chamber, a healer examined him and bowed his head in sorrow. "My king, you have been given a slow poison." The king's breath left him in a whisper. Not of fear but disappointment. Not for himself but for his people, for Hannon, for the kingdom he had safeguarded all his life. Outside Omizunu, the two neighboring towns, places of excessive wealth but little compassion, watched his decline with hungry eyes. Their richest men had always envied Seaman's influence. Their own wealth could not seduce Omizunu's maidens or bend its people to serve them, because the kingdom lacked nothing. And now, with the king weakened and no male heir to stand in his place, they plotted to divide Omizunu among themselves. To protect the kingdom as his strength faded, King Seaman made a decision born of desperation and wisdom. He announced a grand competition of strength, wisdom, and the art of war. The winner would marry Princess Hannon and become king. The kingdom buzzed with shock. Among the many contestants, one man stepped forward quietly, Andersen, the farmer. Dust rose as he walked. People whispered. An orphan farmer competing to become king? But Hannon noticed his eyes. Calm, steady, certain. Eyes that saw beyond the surface. The trials began. In the strength trial, contestants lifted stones heavy enough to crush bones. Many fell. Andersen lifted his with controlled breaths, his muscles trembling but never giving in. The stone rose. The crowd roared. In the wisdom trial, a complex wooden puzzle sat before them. Competitors scrambled nervously. Andersen studied shadows, angles, the grain of the wood, and completed it first, his hands moving with quiet certainty. In the final trial, The Art of War. Contestants drew battle plans in the sand. Anderson knelt. His fingers traced the curves of rivers, the density of forests, the tendencies of wild animals, the weak points enemies rarely saw. When he stood, even the king's eyes widened. He had not simply drawn a plan. He had drawn destiny. Anderson won. On the day of the wedding, the kingdom erupted in color and sound. Drums pounded like thunder. Flutes cried joy. Villagers danced beneath strings of woven flowers. Anderson stood in a warrior's robe, tense but dignified. Hannon approached, adorned in royal fabric that shimmered like dawn. Their eyes met, shy yet warm, and something unspoken passed between them. The king placed the crown upon Anderson's head, his hands trembling but his smile certain. "Protect them," he whispered, voice cracking. "As I have protected you." Yet far away, darkness sharpened its claws. In one of the wealthy towns, a man named George still nursed humiliation. Once he had pursued Hannon, even resorting to forbidden charms to bend her affection. But she rejected him, and the charm dissolved uselessly in her presence. His pride never recovered. Now the young king's coronation ignited his rage into wildfire. He and other wealthy conspirators gathered an army, believing Anderson, once a mere farmer, would be easy to crush. They were wrong. For the left side of Omizunu held a forest unlike any other, deep, ancient, alive. And Anderson knew every breath of it. He led his soldiers into the trees days before the enemy arrived, laying traps with surgical precision. Pits masked with leaves. Vine snares set at ankle height. Weighted logs suspended like thunder waiting to fall. Poison-tipped spikes carved from sharpened wood. And routes mapped to release wild animals only he knew how to avoid. When the invaders entered, confident and laughing, the forest swallowed them whole. A trap snapped. One man disappeared into a pit of spikes. Screams shattered the silence. Hyenas howled. Monkeys shrieked and leapt. Shadows darted between trees. The forest itself seemed alive. For 2 days chaos reigned. On the second day Anderson led his own troops like a whisper of wind, silent, precise, unstoppable. Smoke signals rose. Ambushes ignited like sparks. The enemy panicked, trapped between beasts, traps, and warriors who knew every root and stone. By the second sunset the invaders lay defeated. The wealthy masterminds were dragged in chains to Omizunu, where justice awaited them, swift and public. Their end was a warning carved into the memory of all who witnessed it. After the battle, Anderson returned to the palace where King Seaman lay weakened. But the new king carried a bowl of herbs from the forest, the same herbs the old herbalist who raised him once taught him to use. Day after day he treated the king and slowly, life seeped back into Seaman's veins. Color returned to his cheeks, strength to his voice. When he finally stood again he embraced Anderson with trembling arms. "You are more than a king," he whispered. "You are my son." Years passed. Omizunu expanded, absorbing the two once hostile towns under fair rule and compassion. Trade flourished. Feuds dissolved. Peace rippled outward like a stone dropped into water. Anderson and Hannon ruled side by side, strength and wisdom woven into harmony. They had 2 children, Aramu, who inherited his father's fierce intuition, and Nena, who carried her mother's gentle insight. Under their reign, the kingdom rang with laughter, of children, of elders, of all who found comfort in its protection. And so, the orphan farmer rose from the soil to the throne, becoming the hidden wise war king. Hidden not because he sought secrecy, but because the world overlooked greatness dressed in simplicity. He saved his kingdom. He saved his father king. And he built a legacy of peace carved in the hearts of generations. The kingdom of Omizunu flourished, forever grateful to the king who saw wisdom in silence, strength in humility, and victory in compassion. Every story here is crafted to lift your spirit and ignite your imagination. If you'd love more inspiring tales like this, please like and subscribe. Let's grow this story-loving family together.